So hi again to everyone and welcome to the Careers for a Cause presentation. Specifically, this session is highlighting Sevita Health, and we are very happy to have everyone here tonight. I'm going to run through a couple of housekeeping slides. So first of all, our access and accommodations policy. Your experience here at Southern New Hampshire University is important to us. It is our policy and practice to create an inclusive and accessible learning environment. If there are aspects of this presentation's design or delivery that present barriers to accessibility, please notify. If you're an online student, it'll be the Online Accessibility Center by emailing oac@snhu.edu or by phone at 866-305-9430. If you're a campus student, it'll be the Campus Accessibility Center, and you can email cac@snhu.edu or call at 603-644-3118. And finally, if you are a SNHU staff or faculty member, you can contact the Human Resources Office by emailing hr@snhu.edu. For a few more housekeeping points, just so you know, as an attendee, your mic and camera are going to be temporarily turned off for the presentation portion, just so we can focus on the actual presentation. There will be time for Q&A at the end. You're also welcome to be in the chat and ask questions during the session. I'll be in the chat as well, and I'm happy to facilitate the questions. This session is being recorded, just so you're aware. And again, there will be time at the end for Q&A as well. You're also welcome to connect with the SNHU Career Services Office. There's a variety of ways. I have our email, phone number, and website listed here, as well as our different social media handles. So we encourage you to reach out and connect with us as you have the time. That is enough for me. I'm really excited tonight to introduce everyone to Sarah Fraser. Sarah, you can read her bio here. She's absolutely fantastic, and she'll be talking with us tonight about Sevita Health. So with that, Sarah, I'm going to go ahead and stop presenting, and you should actually have access to share your screen as well if you want to go ahead and get started.
Thank you so much, Daisy. I absolutely do. Thank you for allowing me the privilege of being here. I'm not going to lie, I'm a little nervous. I haven't done one of these in a very long time. So all on the side that I can't see you, please bear with me. But in order to make sure that you all get the most out of this presentation, that I'm really tailoring it to discuss what we do at Sevita for you, I'm hoping that maybe everybody could put in the chat the career direction that you're hoping to go in, whether that's nursing or mental health, and as well as sort of what your current program is. That would really help me make sure that I'm gearing this towards you and not telling you a whole bunch of stuff that you don't actually need to know. So I'll give it a few minutes so that I can check that out in the chat, and then I'll get rolling. Well, you came to the right place, Brooke. We are on it. Anyone else? Current career trajectory, what you're interested in, and the program that you're in. Got you covered there too with remote positions. Okay, I am going to share my screen and get started. I'm also just going to preface this. I am absolutely not technologically inclined at all, so I really apologize for any slowness that happens on my end with that.
You're doing great, Sarah.
Thanks. Wait till we get to the PowerPoint. I might not be so great then. All right, so I am going to talk to you guys a little bit about what we do here at Sevita. We are an exceptionally large agency that does a lot with children and family services. I'm going to give you the overview of what we do throughout several states. I think at this point we're in over 39 states. And then I'm going to break it down to what we do here in Massachusetts, which is close enough to New Hampshire. All right.
Sarah,
So, yeah.
I'm sorry to cut in. I don't know if this is your preference, but we can actually see the slides with the notes.
Oh, I don't know how to change that.
Do you have multiple screens?
Oh no.
If
As I
you want to
said,
go into like present mode or something, like yeah, from beginning or from current slide.
I did from beginning. I can't see any of the notes, so I am winging it.
Oh,
So
okay.
I
I'm
have
trying to
used presenter
think.
view.
That's so weird. I wonder if it's because of did you have it presented and then you tried to share it?
Oh, wait. For a second it like flashed to present mode.
Yeah, that's weird. And I mean, honestly, if we want to do it this way, that's no problem whatsoever. It just means that we can see the notes. So
That's okay because I'm not actually going to read the notes anyway. So
The notes are essentially what's on the slide, I think.
yep,
perfect.
they're not notes I've written, not notes for me. So I think we'll be
Nothing,
okay with that.
nothing secret.
Nope, and I can't see you all, so you all will, feel free to ask any questions in the chat, and then we have moderation. So just a little bit about Sevita. One of the things that I love about this agency is that our real mission is to empower people to live well, and I think that means so much in terms of the work that we do in a mental health and behavioral health capacity. That at the end of the day, all we want is for people to feel healthy and comfortable and competent in the lives that they're living. So I truly, truly believe in our mission. And if that resonates with you all, we may be the place for you. We have a lot of different business lines. We have our children and family services. That's where I come from. We have community support services, and that really works with adult day health. We also have foster care programs for adults in here. We have specialized health and rehabilitation, where we do a lot with neurorehabilitation, and then we have our senior care services as well. But as I said, children and family services, that's my jam, so that's what I'm going to share with you guys today. And this is a little bit about many of the services that we offer in the children and family service line. I'm going to talk a little bit about each one of them and how you could get started in them or learning more about them if you're interested in that.
Hey,
Sarah,
Sarah.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. It's Daisy and Lucy again. It looks like whenever you're clicking through, the slides aren't advancing, and I think it's because you're stuck in presenter view. Are you able to? Are you able? Yes, perfect. We see it. Okay, great.
Oh my gravy, do you still see it? Because I think I just stopped sharing.
No, you stop sharing.
Okay. We're going to try one more time, guys. As I said, not technologically advanced. So if you're looking at a career in IT or for Sevita to teach you how to do PowerPoint, this isn't it for you, okay?
Hey, PowerPoint and Teams can be tricky. You're doing great.
I can't do it. Okay. Let's try again. How about now?
Yes, so we're on the About Children Family Services slide now.
Great. Let's stick with that to see what happens.
Excellent.
Okay. Thanks for chiming in, guys. I'm going to skip. So why choose us? This is our sell, the things that we're able to offer to incoming employees. We have great benefits plans, very generous time off. We also have learning opportunities. We use an online learning platform called Relias. So as you need continuing education courses, you can simply take those online and they're free, which is amazing. We do a lot in terms of performance feedback and development to really help our staff determine, is this the right career path for you? And if not, and if so, how do we help you continue on to that and get you to the section that you want to be in? One of the things that I think is super amazing about this agency is that we are so large that we have the opportunity to really continue to remain with Sevita, but explore other job opportunities as people learn and grow and determine what it is that they really like about the work that they're doing. So, lots of folks have hopped from one service line to another, even state to state. If you live in Massachusetts and decide that you want to move where it's warmer, although it appears wonderful out today, you can head on down to North Carolina, and I am sure we have a job waiting for you somewhere down there. So I think something like that is always really helpful too. All right. but specific to Massachusetts. So who we are, Sevita is our parent company. Locally, we're known as Massachusetts Mentor, South Bay Community Services, or Futures. So about 2 years ago, Massachusetts Mentor acquired South Bay and Futures. Futures is our center-based ABA program, and Massachusetts Mentor and South Bay provide outpatient therapy, and the Children's Behavioral Health Initiative services, which I'll get into because that is my passion. Okay, a little bit more about what we do and what we're able to offer. We definitely have a wealth of services, and we're basically able to expand throughout someone's lifespan. We start as early as 0 in our early intervention programs, and we go all the way up through the lifespan. So as we learn what our desires are, our passions are for, there's definitely a niche in here somewhere for you, but here's a little bit about what it is that we do globally. And then we also offer therapeutic foster care. So those that have an interest in fostering youth, that is something that we offer as well. It's a really wonderful partnership we have with DCF, the Department of Children and Families here in Massachusetts. Okay, I'm going to skip that one real quick. Okay, I'm going to get to my passion because how can I not? So I am the area director of the Children's Behavioral Health Initiative. And so for those of you that might know, in Massachusetts, this was born out of a class action lawsuit that basically said that about 20 years ago at this point, children were not receiving services that were intensive enough to keep them in their natural environments. So unfortunately, these youths were either being displaced to hospitals, placements, or residential care facilities, or sometimes you're even going to therapeutic foster homes because we just didn't have the support to provide the families in their natural environment. So a bunch of families got together, they call themselves Rosie D. They sued the state of Massachusetts and they won. And out of that lawsuit were born 7 services, and we provide 4 of them at Mentor. So one being in-home therapy, and that's really a 2-person team-based approach, working with families to increase their ability to communicate with one another, their family dynamics, really supporting them in living well, if you will. And so through that, we have a master's level clinician that goes in and they do an assessment of the family, talk about the family's area of need, where they'd like to grow, and then they bring on what we would consider maybe a paraprofessional level, so someone with a bachelor's and associates, to come in and support and do some of that skills-based work. So if you're interested in that and thinking to yourself, I'd love to know a little bit about therapy, but I'm not sure I want my master's degree, this role happens to be wonderful because you get great exposure to what it might look like to be a clinician while not having the responsibilities of a clinician just yet. We also have another service called in-home behavioral services, and these are really meant to address children that are having high-risk behaviors. So they may have a lot of noncompliance, physical aggression, property destruction, and our job is to go in and determine, well, I think they do it because of this, one of the functions of behaviors, and then at the end of the day, we go in and create a behavior plan that's specifically tailored to that youth and to the caregiver supporting the youth to ensure that they can fulfill the expectations of the plan in order to improve the behaviors in the home, community, school, etc. And then one of our other services in CBHI is our therapeutic mentoring services. So this is with paraprofessional level staff. And really, we're getting the amazing opportunity to take these youth out into the community and work with them on one-on-one skill building. So at times we have older teenagers, 18, 19, 20, even they age out at 21, who may need some support in how do I take public transportation? How do I apply for a job? How do I go ahead and file my taxes? I always say that I wish I had a therapeutic mentor. I wish this program existed when I was a kid, because I would love for somebody to teach me some of these day in, day out real life skills. And so that's a little bit about what our therapeutic mentors do.
Sarah.
Yes.
Hey, it's Daisy again, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I
No.
think the slides aren't advancing.
You know what? I'm going to skip the slides. Who needs them? I can send them out after for anybody that wants to see them, but apparently that I'm so technologically impaired, I can't do it. So we're going to go ahead and just keep it rolling, and I'll send it out after if that's okay with everybody else.
I love it. Thank you.
Okay, so sorry about that. I promise I signed into Teams early and tried to practice, but not for me. Um, so I'm seeing some of you folks in the chat have put that you have a psychology degree coming up. And so these are definitely some roles that would be amazing for somebody that is just receiving their bachelor's degree. It gives you a lot of great experience working with youth and families, doing skill building work, sort of setting the foundation of what therapeutic intervention looks like. And a lot of the families that we work with in CBHI are considered underprivileged population. So they don't have access to transportation at times. They may not have access to finances to support their needs. A lot of the families, unfortunately, that we work with have some form of trauma. And so part of our role in working with them is to support them through navigating that trauma and navigating statewide systems to ensure that they're able to receive the support and services that they need to meet their goals. Okay. Some of the other things that we do in Massachusetts in terms of services, we also have outpatient therapy, and that's sort of your traditional an hour, sometimes more a week, sit down. We're going to discuss what your challenges are, your strengths, your areas for growth. That is completed by a master's level clinician, so a little bit different. And within that service line, we have a wealth of other services. We do anger management, we do nurturing parents groups. We often offer parenting groups as well, medication management. So there's sort of a wealth of service that comes along with outpatient services too. We also have our early intervention service line. So if you think to yourself, I love the littles, this might be the service for you. We work 0 to 3 years old in early intervention. We're working with both the identified child as well as their family to support that child in meeting their developmental milestones. It's a really truly fascinating service line, and it's a multidisciplinary approach. So we have occupational therapists, speech and language therapists, physical therapists, nurses, therapists, and then we have developmental specialists. So if you're into psychology and getting your bachelor's and think little kids are for you, EI might be the way to go. They're awfully, awfully cute, I will say. Often they age out at 3 and then they come on over to us in the CBHI side of the house, which is wonderful. The other service line that we offer is our Futures programs. Those are center-based ABA programs. So our youth come into us, they have an autism spectrum diagnosis. We provide them with intensive autism ABA services, really to help them gain any skill they may need in order to help them be successful in their future, preschool age, usually up to the age of 7. And then in the afternoon, we offer a skills acquisition group. So really teaching them social skills. How do you interact with another youth of your age? How do you go out into the community and order a meal from Dunkin' Donuts? How do you do your laundry? So we really teach them real world skills with a one-to-one coach, basically. And those are called behavior technicians. We also offer community-based ABA too, in which we're going into the home and teaching them the same skills. So that's a little bit about the services that we're able to offer. Some of the things that set us apart as an agency, not only are we very large, so you can have a wealth of opportunity, but we're also very dedicated to, I guess, what one would consider social justice. So we have a really amazing diversity, equity, and inclusion committee, not only on a local level in Massachusetts, but also on a larger level throughout Sevita, that's really working to ensure that our policies, practices, and procedures are very much aligned with our advanced research and knowledge about DEI committees. We certainly want to ensure that we have a diversified workforce, that we are honoring the needs of our we call them person served. Other people may call them clients or consumers, but we call them person served. And that they can get an experience that feels to them genuine and authentic with a therapist that is really going to bring that to them. So that's one of our things that I think really sets us apart. Some of the other things that I believe set us apart as an agency are not only the volume of service, but we all collaborate with one another. So I know my colleagues in Pennsylvania, and I know several of my colleagues in Connecticut and some of the other services and states as well, in an effort to sort of streamline our practices and ensure that as families transition to other states, we can provide that transition seamlessly for them. So we do spend a lot of time collaborating with one another. Um, we also have amazing supervisory experience. So if someone's interested in obtaining licensure, going back to school to get their master's, we provide you with that supervision, which is something that I think is amazing. I started out as an outpatient therapist and have just continued to grow. I became an assistant supervisor, a supervisor, a director. Now I run 3 other service lines. And so throughout my 14 years here, I've had a wealth of opportunity. And I'm not sure I'd be able to have that opportunity in another agency. Sometimes it can feel a little bit big because we have a lot of platforms in place, technology platforms, but each site has its own small feel and it's a very intimate kind of setting. And then I'll just plug, because I think this is amazing. I'd never heard of it before, though I've only been with this company for 14 years, but through the acquisition, we have something called Perks at Work. So if you love a coupon, that's what Perks at Work is. We have all sorts of perks. You want to get a new wash machine? We've got you covered. Here's your discount. So I definitely think that sets us apart. I don't know about you all, but as a homeowner, I think that's amazing. And or if I had had that during my first apartment, I would have loved that too. Some of the other things I'll say is that our local leadership in Massachusetts will walk into a building and they'll know everybody's name and they're responsible for thousands of employees. And I just think that despite the fact that we're very large, there's always a feel of comfortability and acknowledgement. And we do a lot with ensuring that we are praising what others are doing. And so I just really love that. And I think in terms of knowing more about how to get into the field, I can't share with you the PowerPoint, obviously, because I'm not doing well with this, but we will get it shared out. And there is a section on there that you can go to apply for any of the positions. I will also ping my email there, and I'm happy to meet with anybody face-to-face. Well, telehealth version. Maybe not Windows or Teams because I'm not quite sure how this works, but I do know how to use GoTo and I do know how to use Zoom. So maybe we could do that. And I'd be happy to share how you can get involved. I'd be happy to share resources for how you can learn more about CBHI or outpatient. But really the first step is to just sort of go to our website. We have a lot of job postings and see what catches your eye based on the job postings. And then after you post or you apply for a position, a recruiter reaches out to you and really will work through the position you've posted to determine this is the one that has a good fit for you. And if not, they'll recommend another position for you. They're quite an amazing team. Yeah, I think that is it. And unless anyone has questions, I'm happy to answer any.
Yeah, so I'll be happy to moderate the questions. We've got a couple in the chat and I have a couple that were submitted ahead of time. So thank you again, obviously, for all that information. That was fantastic. And I'm so impressed with how well you pivoted and gave us all that information without the slides. So kudos to you. Yeah. So the first question is, what are the key qualities that you're generally looking for in an applicant?
Absolutely. So a lot of this job is autonomous. Besides the centers, you're often spending time out in the community. So you're going into homes. So that requires a lot of autonomy. And one of the things that we absolutely look for is good communication. We want to know when you need additional support from us. A lot of times folks will feel like, well, I'm bothering my supervisor. I should just wait for supervision. No, we want to hear from you. When I get a text in the middle of the day from someone on my team, I'm pretty jazzed. Even if it's a problem, I don't mind. I know you're out there. I know you're doing well. And I know that I can help you. So great communication is really key. I think in any job, honestly, communicating your wants and needs. But in this job specifically, really telling us where you're at and what you need and how we can help you and what's going well. And we also spend a lot of time, it's something called rounds that we do where we sit down and meet with people for 20 minutes. Could be my service line or any service line to hear what's going well and what are the challenges. We spend a lot of time eliciting feedback from members on our teams. So great communication would be one thing that we'd be looking for. Because it's autonomous, I will definitely say organization. You have to have an organization system, but I'm sure you'll hear that everywhere. And then I really look for somebody that has a teachable or coachable attitude. If I have somebody that comes in off the bat and really feels like I already know this, then that sometimes can be a little bit off-putting versus someone that is really comfortable in saying, you know, I have no idea how to do this. That's okay. That's what I'm here for. It's my job to coach you and teach you. So communication, organization, and then really just a willingness to learn.
That is a fantastic answer. I think that especially communication is such a underrated skill that sometimes you just have to learn on the ground, as it were. So that's a fantastic answer. Appreciate that.
Sure.
We have another question. Do y'all offer job shadowing in any way?
So we do have some opportunity for job shadowing. We do have internship placements that we do as well. We also do job shadowing in terms of, I think I might want to come on board, but I'm not sure. We have to be mindful because it's a HIPAA protected service that we offer. So to have job shadowing can be really difficult because you're meeting with persons served. But certainly if someone said, I'm really interested, but I'm not entirely sure, we might say, come along for a session with us, do a ride along, if you will. And as long as the family is comfortable with that, then we're often willing to do so.
That's fantastic. I love that. I think we have some people who might be reaching out to you to ask some questions about that in the future too. So that's
Great.
amazing. And then we have another question that came in, and I absolutely love this question. What is your experience with hiring neurodiverse candidates?
Absolutely. So we really, as I said, we have a DEI committee. We want everybody. Give me everybody. So I think in terms of hiring, the biggest thing for us is to know what support do you need from us, and that's for any candidate. It has nothing to do with neurodiversity, but what do you need from us? How can I teach you best? How do you learn? And in our first supervision, we have something generally that's called the first fives. I want to explain what your first supervision is going to look like, what your first session is going to look like, your first week, your first paycheck. So we kind of go over all of that to really set people up to understand what it looks like. We also go over your first supervision. And my first question to any new hire that I have is, how can I communicate best with you? What is the best style of communication? What is the best method of communication? How do you like to receive feedback? Because I think that's a question that often people feel challenged. I tend to be very straight to the point, and sometimes I need to tailor my approach based on what somebody needs. And so I think in general, it's really more about learning about the person. What does this person need? And how do they like to be spoken to or communicated with in order to ensure that I'm meeting their needs? That's my job as a supervisor, is to make sure I'm meeting the needs of the employees that are working with me, and also ensuring that they're meeting the needs of the person served that they're meeting with.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I guess a follow-up question that's a little bit off script. If you had a new hire who maybe didn't know how to express what their communication style is, I assume that would even become a part of the coaching conversation as well.
Absolutely. And I think, we've had that. We've had a lot of folks that say, I don't know, or they've selected a style and then later on they weren't responsive to that style. And we've realized, let's revisit this conversation. Maybe this wasn't the right style. So let's try a couple of different approaches and see which one resonates best with you. I think at the end of the day, and I'll share my experience. I've had the same supervisor for 14 years intermittently. Yep. And so we know each other incredibly well. It's now a face. I don't need you to actually verbally say anything to me. I can read your face to know what it is that I need or what you need. And I think that that just speaks to the dedication of the managers that we have in ensuring that we really are symbiotic in the way that our relationships work with one another, and that the manager managee relationship is mutual. Everybody
Uh,
gets something out of it.
yeah, no, I love that. That's absolutely fantastic. Thank you. So, referring back to a couple questions that were previously submitted before the session started, one question that really stood out to me was, how would you suggest that a student address a gap on their resume, whether because they were a stay-at-home parent or they went to school or just decided not to work? How would you suggest they handle that?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question because I think as recruiting generally hands us the resume. Sometimes we see those gaps in the workforce. And I think it's appropriate to just explain it right away. If you're explaining it to the recruiter or explaining it to the hiring manager, it makes sense to us. Everybody has their own personal story, and that's not my business what happened during those times. But I may say to you, I see a 6-year gap. Anything you might want to share with me about that? And it's just easier if someone's forthcoming to say, I took 6 years off. I wasn't in my best space right now. That has absolutely zero impact on my desire to hire somebody moving forward. You recognized what you needed and you took a break from it. You recognized you wanted to go back to school, and so you took a break from the workforce. I commend anybody that's able to recognize internally what they need and then pursue it. So be honest and forthcoming. That's my answer.
Yeah, that is such a compassionate answer. I love that.
Thanks.
And I wonder too, you know what? No, I'm sorry. I had a follow-up question and it just completely disappeared. So I'm just going to go ahead and move on to the next one. It'll come to me later. So there's another question in the chat. What is a piece of advice that you could offer students just starting out in the field?
Don't settle. That would be my first piece of advice. Don't settle for the first position. I feel like I should be like Lucy because she's recruiting, like cover your ears. But don't settle. Find the position that really resonates with you. It doesn't have to be your forever home in terms of your career. It could be what works for you for the next year, but find the position that feels right for you. Really think about what are my skills and how do I see myself applying them on a day in and day out basis. For me, I started out as outpatient and I loved every minute of it. But there was a period where I thought, I'm driving a lot and I'm a very sleepy driver. I'm getting very sleepy regularly. And I thought, I wonder if there's something else I'm interested in. And I happened to transition into management and I've never looked back. It's been 12 years that I've been in a managerial role and I've loved every minute of it. And if someone told me I had to go back, I don't know as I would want to because it's not my passion anymore. So figure out what your passion is. It's okay to try many, many things and don't feel beholden to anybody but yourself to find the best fit for you. You will be so happy if you find the right job.
You're like a walking factory for t-shirt slogans. I think don't settle. What you're not beholden to anyone but yourself. Like I would take all of those on a t-shirt. That's amazing.
Thanks.
Yeah. I also remembered the question that I forgot a moment ago. So coming back to that one, could you speak a little bit to the work-life balance that's at Sevita?
Sure. So I'm going to speak to it from the clinician perspective. One of the amazing things, with the exception of our center-based program at Futures, is that you create your own schedule. We provide you with a caseload. We work with you to ensure that you're scheduling geographically. That's one thing that we're really, really big on. We don't want you traveling like 30, 45 minutes from one person served to the next. So we'll work with you on scheduling geographically. And I will go back to my outpatient experience. I loved nothing more than I could go grocery shopping in the middle of the day. There's something so appeasing to me about an empty grocery store in the middle of the day, and I really loved that. So I loved the ability to create my own schedule because it really gave me that work-life balance. I was able to leave early if I needed to, come in later if I needed to, and I'll say in management we're wonderful here, and as is my supervisor, and so I'm still able to do that. But at the end of the day, in a clinician role, the idea isn't for you to take everything home. And we do a lot of work on clinicians not feeling as though they need to pack that baggage up at the end of the day and take it home. We really want you to finish your time with your person served and pack that away. So we spend a lot of time because that's a soft skill that really requires a lot of development and a lot of experience. But I think it really supports a work-life balance. Some of the things that can be challenging, and I'll just share from a managerial perspective, are when people say, well, I only want to work 2 days a week because I need a work-life balance. That doesn't necessarily allow us to support our person served in the way that they need that support. But overall, we really want people to feel like, oh, I got to leave at 3 today. I'll maybe work till 7 tomorrow, and that's okay. But we've got people that we've got somebody that teaches Zumba, and so they have a time that they have to leave 3 days a week to go teach Zumba, and it works for them. So independent scheduling is wonderful, really supportive of a work-life balance.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I can back you up. My happy place when it comes to grocery shopping is 3 in the morning at Walmart and there's no one else there. It's a beautiful thing. So I completely agree. Um,
I'm with that.
so perhaps going down further this kind of work-life balance conversation, you'd mentioned that there are remote roles. Can you talk about those a little bit too?
We do have some remote positions. So what I will caveat is that the Children's Behavioral Health Initiative is meant to be community-based. So we spend all of that time in the community, in the homes. It is called in-home therapy and in-home behavioral, so kind of inherent in the names. And the same thing for ABA service. Those are really meant to be home-based. Our outpatient service line does offer telehealth and remote options for service delivery. They're our biggest proponent. We also have what's called a virtual IOP, so it's intensive outpatient, where somebody comes 3 days a week for 3 hours at a time. Oftentimes, these folks happen to have a substance use disorder, and so we're newly starting that up, but that is a virtual opportunity as well.
Okay, awesome. And I assume that if the positions are available, they're listed on the career website too?
They are listed on the career website. And I should say regarding CBHI and ABA service, it doesn't mean there's no opportunity for home-based, but the majority of what we do is in the community. And as I mentioned, we were Legacy South Bay and we were purchased. And when I came on board, it was 80% of your work is in the community. That has been the mission of the agency since its inception 42 years ago, because we really want to serve an underprivileged population and we recognize that they may not have the devices to support having a telehealth platform.
Sure. No, that makes sense. Meet your community where it's at. I love that. Awesome.
Absolutely.
So to take a bit of a right turn here, we talked about, job shadowing and remote positions. Are there any opportunities for internship positions at Sevita?
Oh, yes. Lucy's like the guru on internship positions. What would you like? We probably have it somewhere. We absolutely have them in CBHI. We definitely have them in outpatient. ABA would be a newer endeavor for us to have an intern, but we'd be more than happy to take on some interns there as well. So um, maybe Lucy, you can speak to EI because that's the only one that I don't know about in terms of interns.
EI, I will say, is also on the newer side to accepting interns. Maybe it's a more case by case basis, and more dependent on the specific position. Personally, I'm not as confident of like a physical therapist intern. I don't really know personally what that looks like, but I think for like a developmental specialist, like you were touching on earlier, looking to kind of get into that birth to three from a developmental standpoint, I think there's usually internship opportunities in that capacity. But again, it's also kind of on the newer side. So kind of looking at how we can best grow that and support you in those positions.
Yeah. So really, it sounds like in a way, between the fact that there are, internship possibilities and job shadowing possibilities, would it be fair to say that a student that there's a case to be made? Basically, what I'm trying to say is like there's a lot of flexibility, I guess, in I have an interest. What are the positions available? We can have a conversation.
Yes, absolutely. We have several positions open in several service lines. So I would be hard pressed to think that we couldn't find something unless you said, I'm really an IT person. I want to be in the IT world. As I said, we can't help you. But anything else, we're happy to try and work with somebody to find a goodness of fit.
I do
Yeah.
that a lot. As Sarah mentioned earlier, our recruiting team is really great at helping work with you to find what
Hmm.
could be a good fit for you. If it's not necessarily the job you applied to, but talking you through the different opportunities we have and kind of getting to what you might be looking for and what could be a good fit for that on our end. Same thing with interns. I'm having a lot of conversations with students about similar things. They might not really know what we do or know what they're looking for. So our recruiting team is definitely used to having those conversations. They're happy to do that, to really find what would be the best fit for what you're looking for.
That's awesome. So do you guys, and I'm just being nosy at this point, do you guys have an ATS or do you look at each resume individually? What does that look like?
So,
Both,
sorry.
I would say.
Okay.
Definitely feel free to apply online. if it's posted online, there is a recruiter assigned to it that would be looking at your resume and application and contacting you for next steps. We also will, look at resumes individually. If you have one of our email addresses and want to send it over to Sarah or I, we're more than happy to, take a look at it and connect with you that way. So
Perfect.
both.
Okay, no, that's a great answer. So in line with that too, if there is a person who's interested maybe in multiple roles at the company, would you say a best practice is to apply for all 10 of them, pick one and talk to a recruiter? What would be the best strategy there?
I would say pick one and talk to the recruiter. They'll really help navigate any candidate in terms of the position that may be the best fit for them. So I would just apply for one. It tends to be a little bit confusing when candidates apply for several of them. We can lose them in the process sometimes because we're not sure who the last touch point was. So I definitely say apply for one and we'll help you. And even if the recruiter doesn't, once you get to the interview, we'll help you as managers to make sure that you're in the right role. You're interviewing for the right position.
Okay, perfect, fantastic. So Sarah, you'd kind of answered a question to this previously that was very similar, but I guess to ask it in a slightly different way within this context, how would you suggest that a student really stands out as an applicant?
Hmm. I think a well-written resume is sort of the first starting step. Some of us are a little old school, I think. I've seen a lot of headshots on resumes lately, and I'm not sure if I love it or don't love it. I feel rather ambiguous about it, to be quite honest. But I think a resume that highlights your passion is what's important, not everything you've done, but why is it important to you? Sort of your cover letter is really, and I don't think people write a lot of cover letters, so I'm not sure if I'm dating myself at this point. But what I love about cover letters is that they really demonstrate what it is that you enjoy doing, where your passion is, not just what you've done or the jobs or skills that you have. Those are all very important. But if you don't have the passion and drive behind those things, it makes it a little bit more challenging. In terms of coming in for the interview or doing the virtual interview, just I guess my tidbits of advice are make sure that you can be distraction free in a place where maybe you're not driving. We get a lot of driving interviews sometimes, and I think I'm concerned about your safety. Um, so I think, presenting as professionally as possible and really just driving home why you are the person for this job, whether it's your sunny disposition, whether it's your desire to grow, your willingness to learn, your previous experiences. I think those are all phenomenal standout points as a hiring manager for me to say, and I can think of people that I've hired over the years and thought that was a wonderful interview, and that was like a decade ago, and I can still think like what a great interview that was. I was so glad I hired that person. But most importantly, be genuine. That is what's going to set you apart. You are a unique human being with a unique set of skills and knowledge and capabilities, and just bring that to the table. So be your authentic and genuine self.
I love that. That's a great answer. I can also tell you I did do one driving meeting one time and I will never do it ever again. So I definitely do not recommend that, especially for an interview. I don't know how, I can't imagine.
Oh no, we've seen it all though, I have to say. I have seen it all.
Goodness. Geez. Well, I've run through my questions and I think I've also run through the questions in the chat. Oh, no, I'm sorry. So, okay, going back to the previous conversation about the work-life balance, what does a typical work day look like, perhaps for one of the more entry-level positions as well?
Sure. So most of our positions, and I'm actually really glad you asked that because I didn't go over sort of hours because you do make your own schedule, but if you're working with children, that means you're not working a general 8 to 4 or 9 to 5 type position. We're really working more like a 12 to 8 kind of position because we want to see them after school. We do work really hard to balance a caseload so that you can have some of those earlier youth that you're supporting and then some afternoon youth, but definitely anything in family therapy or outpatient, you're really looking at more of the evening. We certainly have shorter days. The summers tend to be a little bit shorter. People can start earlier, summer vacation. But the nuances of the day, you don't have to start in an office. You really start from home and you go and pick up your first person served and take them into the community if you are doing therapeutic mentoring. or you're going to the house for your first session with your teammate, working with the family, and then you transition from one to the next. So overall, we generally have about 2, maybe 3 sessions a day in the CBHI world. Same thing for ABA because they tend to be lengthy. It's about 2 to 3 hours that you're having of a session. In terms of the outpatient world, you're basically going to schedule about 7 persons served a day. And you can start a little bit earlier because if you like working with an adult population, oftentimes you can see some of our adult population earlier in the day. So the hours tend to vary and fall more aligned with probably like a 10 to 6.
Okay, fantastic.
There's also weekend, I should mention, there's weekend opportunity too. If someone was like, I really want to be home on a Wednesday, like Wednesday's just my jam, my shows are on, I want to be home on Wednesday. If you want to work on Saturday, go for it. We really want people to have a schedule that is befitting to them.
That's amazing. I have to say, I've been a lifetime night owl. So hearing about companies that are willing to kind of accommodate that, that's always really exciting for me because when I was first in the workforce, that didn't exist. So that's amazing. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if I can ask one more kind of big picture wrap up question related to Sevita or not, what is your best piece of advice that you've ever received or have given someone? I know, big question.
I know. I need to get my t-shirt slogans out, I guess. I don't know if it's a piece of advice I was given, but I will say that I live my life under the guise of when I reflect on my day at the end of every day, was I the person that I hoped to be? Did I treat others the way that I wanted to be treated? And did I give my all effort in the things that were priority to me for that day? I don't spend a lot of time on this reflection because I like to read at night, but I do spend some time just thinking about the end of my day. And so I think my best advice, because at the end of the day, that all boils down to authenticity. And was I my authentic self throughout the day for everybody that I came in contact with? And do I feel good about how I presented? And if I didn't, then I'll go back and try and rectify. And if I did, it's a notch on my belt and I had a great day. And I hope other people did too. So be authentic, be genuine, be true to yourself. I think those are my biggest takeaways. Best advice I would give anybody.
I love that. I've heard it said too that, was I an adult that the child version of me would be proud of? I think that's a very, very similar concept. So I really appreciate that.
Sure.
Lucy, do you want to take a stab at it? I don't want to leave you out.
My head went to in kindergarten learning the golden rule, and Sarah kind of mentioned it in her answer as well, but treat others the way you want to be treated. And I mean, that's a big question. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received? But that's where my mind went. Treating others the way you want to be treated in your personal life, at work, Sevita, not Sevita. I think that's just a really good rule to live by. And if you do that, only good things can come your way in return.
Yeah, I love that. That's a fantastic point. I think it's also a great way to wrap up our session. It's why it's my favorite question to end with because I think it kind of leaves everyone feeling nice and squishy. So again, I so appreciate everyone's time this afternoon or this evening, excuse me. If there are any questions that we didn't get to, I will put my email in the chat. You're welcome to reach out to me, and I'll be sure to pass them on to Sarah and or Lucy and get them answered for you. But as some wrap up, we're recording the session. We'll share out the recording. I'll also share out the slides as well. Whenever, Sarah, if you want to send those to me, whenever you have a moment, there's no rush. And then we can go ahead and send out that follow-up afterwards. But again, I appreciate everyone taking the time this evening, and I hope that everyone enjoys what's left of the day. And thank you again to Sarah and Lucy.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Best of luck, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.